All right, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call the White Bear Township Town Board meeting to order for July 6th. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Bill informs we have 2 additions. Item 8A is a Benson Airport Water Tower amateur radio operator request. And item 8B will be ordinance number 88, liquor license moratorium. Anything else, Bill?
No.
I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
A motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I will second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve payment of the bills.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. I also need now an approval of June 20th, 2016 Town Board meeting minutes. Any corrections, Steve?
Nope. I looked through those. There was one error that, just a word misspelling, and they took care of that earlier. So I'll make a motion to approve the June 20th, 2016 minutes.
And I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It'll just be Steve and I tonight. For you watching, Bob Kermey's had a conflict for tonight, so we'll speed it up just for Bob. Item number 5, consent agenda. We have 2 items. Steve, you want to read those?
Yes, agenda item 5A is a Velamo Joint Powers Agreement, 1-year update. Approve the 10-year update of the Velamo Joint Powers Agreement and authorize execution by the town chair and town clerk. Item 5B, in accordance with the township special events policy, approve the Tour de Hugo community bike ride on Saturday, September 24th, 2016, beginning at 9:00 a.m., and direct the event coordinator to work with the township staff regarding sign placement for this event. Make a motion to approve those 2 consent agenda items.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion also carries. Item number 6, we have 2 things on old business. 6A is the Bald Eagle Island update. Bill, is that you?
Yep, I'll set the table and the town attorney can add as well. The town board has been working with the applicant of the conditional use permit. Actually, the applicant was awarded a conditional use permit for a recording studio on Bald Eagle Island on April 4th. Since that time, however, the applicant has had difficulty trying to meet requirement number 34, which has to do with a bond or security to guarantee removal of the building under certain circumstances. Over the last 3 months, the town board has met with a representative, counsel, Chris Sandberg, and I've also discussed with Hans Stahoviak their efforts to try to meet that requirement and request that the town board consider adjusting or clarifying the language. So the town board met in a special town board meeting last Friday, to discuss work that had been done on it. And the board, at that point in time, considered various options and chose to address the concerns by basically clarifying the intent of that provision in the conditional use permit. And the board moved and passed a resolution that basically stated clarification of those to that term of number 34. That is, that the board will require an amount estimated by the town building inspector necessary to either complete construction or remove the studio if the applicant starts but does not complete the project. Initiates but does not complete the project. And the board also moved that bond or security, the deadline for providing that would coincide with the 6-month initiation requirement for the conditional use permit, which is 6 months from the date it was authorized, which, again, it was approved on April 4th, so the 6-month deadline would be October 4th. So that was a clarifying language that the town board approved.
I think there was one additional term that is a performance bond, and that the bond would terminate once the certificate of occupancy was issued for the new addition.
Bill, do we need to clarify why we're still involved in this?
Well, it could. I could start by stating that once the conditional use permit is issued, the project must be initiated within 6 months. And as the recipient of the conditional use permit has endeavored to meet the conditions, they raised issues that they found were difficult to meet that condition 34. And so they asked that the town board reconsider it.
Well, no, I'm referring to the sale of the island.
Oh,
Well, that's a private matter, and the conditional use permit still exists. Theoretically, the Mega Bean still might have some rights to purchase the island. So at this point in time, the town is simply allowing the new owner and Mega Bean to work out, to see if they can work out their, work on an arrangement by
Okay.
which Mega Bean acquires the island. So, but again, so it comes back to the fact that we're dealing with a private matter, a private transaction, which we're not really a part of. And our conditional use permit is really independent of that, of the transaction from that standpoint.
Well, just to clarify what's been in the paper, that the island sold, and so
Right.
they understand why we're still involved in this, so.
Right. I mean, so theoretically, if Mega Bean does acquire the island by October 4th, they could still
Okay.
exercise their conditional use permit rights. But again, that's between the new buyer and Mega Bean.
All right.
The application process, does that still show the prior owner and Mega Bean, or is that not even in the?
no, they were the applicants, and it was issued while they were, still the applicants. Then I suppose, I guess,
Jointly?
the matter is, once it's issued and approved, it goes with the property.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else, Bill?
No.
Chad?
No.
So basically, this is just an update for us then?
Yes.
All right, and we'll move on to item 6B, Longville Park Tennis Courts. That must be you, Tom?
Nope. Actually, Dale, between Tom and I will cover it. The Public Works Director thought that since this was such a minor clarification, that between Tom and I, we could handle it. So, the town board received bids for tennis court fencing at Longville Park Tennis Courts. Earlier in the year, the town board authorized repaving the tennis court. That work's been done, and it was done in May. The next step in the process is to replace the fences. Once those are done, then the surfacing would be put in, and the tennis courts would be complete. At last town board meeting, bids were received, which included one gate. There was a suggestion that we reject those bids and ask for 2 gates to the outside of the fence, to get from inside the tennis court to outside. And so the bids were received that included 2 gates. Those bids were from the same 2 bidders, Town and Country Fence and Modern Fence. The lowest bid was from Town and Country Fence for $15,285. It's approximately $500 more than with just 1 gate. And so the recommendation is that it's still within the budget, within the capital improvements program for this project. And so the recommended action is to approve the quote from Town and Country Fence for $15,285.
I think, Steve, that was kind of your recommendation,
Was-
correct?
Correct. So I'll make a motion based on the Public Work Director's review and recommendation, approve the quote for the Longville Tennis Court resurfacing from Town and Country Fence for the fencing in the amount of $15,285 with funding from the Park and Recreation Fund.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. On to new business, we have item number 7A. Wilbur Dink, 4221 Otter Lake Road. That's you, Tom.
That's me. Okay. Wilbert Corporation, just located kitty corner from this building right here. Here we are, and this is Wilbert in this location right here. It's a property that's manufacturing plant in the I-1 Light Industrial Zoning District. And they have submitted an application for a permitted use standards and a variance for a couple of site improvements. First off, to add a cooling tower, second cooling tower on the north side of the building. In this location right here, you might be able to see the existing cooling tower, which was approved in 1994, required a variance because it was a little bit too close to the White Bear Parkway right-of-way. Wilbert would like to add a second cooling tower for manufacturing purposes, adjacent to this one, requiring a right-of-way setback variance of 13.5 feet, which would place the second tower, again adjacent to the existing tower, 21.5 feet from White Bear Parkway. So again, that's a 13.5 foot right-of-way setback variance. It also requires approval of a permitted use standards permit. Back in 1994, the existing tower was approved. It was a variance that was requested and approved at that time. The town did require that the applicants submit or plant a dozen spruce trees and irrigate the area around there to provide site screening and also some noise screening. With the new tower that's proposed, they will have to remove one of those spruce trees and lift it up over and set it in place without disturbing the other trees. New tower proposed similar in size and look as the existing tower, but again requiring a 13.5 foot right-of-way setback variance. Variance requires review and recommendations from both the Variance Board and Planning Commission. Both those bodies reviewed and have recommended approval of the variance as requested. So in addition to that recommendation, also a permitted use standards permit is required. Now, the other site improvements that have been talked about but have not been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at this point would be a noise wall on the south side of the building. Still in the process of doing that, so that's, or reviewing that with the Planning Commission, so that's not under consideration tonight. But one of the reasons they're putting in the cooling tower is they cool their water used in the manufacturing process to do that. And they estimate that they will be able to save 1,250 gallons an hour of water with this new cooling tower. So again, in summary, right-of-way setback variance recommended for approval by the Variance Board and Planning Commission for a 13.5 foot variance.
Applicants are here. Is there anything you need to add to Tom's presentation? If so, you just want to go up to the podium and,
No, just again, it's about saving.
why don't you come up to the podium, identify yourself?
My name is Craig Shield. I'm the maintenance manager at Wilbert Plastic Services. Again, the real reason we want to put this in is it's about saving water. We are dumping water consistently over there. With the help of the new tower, we will be able to drop that down to just about zero. We've just outgrown the tower on the inside of the building, and we just need a little bit more. Now, this tower will only really, it won't have to run all year round. It's got to run in the hotter months. This is the months where we really start pumping water now. So in the winter, probably wouldn't be such a big deal to have it running. I'd really, as far as noise goes, we did some walking around today. You can hear a fan running. The other one will have the same fan on it. I don't think that it's going to double the noise. It's going to pick it up a little bit, but should not be too much.
Is the decibel on the new one the same as the old one?
Should be the same, yes.
Any idea, you know what that is or not?
I do not. When we were down on the corner, we actually walked the yard today, and we went down to the corner, and we were standing here. We couldn't hear the fan over the cars. So,
Which there's a lot of traffic right now, so.
there was a lot of traffic, so evening's probably a little bit different.
Right.
So, that's all.
Dave, you have any questions?
No, I think it's went through the proper channels for as much as needs to be talked about, but we have some neighbors here, or?
I see we have some neighbors here. Would they like to come up and speak to the issue?
Hello, my name is Bill Mample. I live right across the street from you over here. and it's a bunch of baloney. The thing has been noisy from the very beginning. It is noisy. It wakes us up at night when there's not a lot of traffic. It's an issue all summer long. It's been noisy, it is noisy, and it's always been noisy. And the planting of the trees made a minimal or a minuscule amount of difference. We really would, we're not saying to disapprove this. Obviously, they need it, they want it. But I would like to ask you to do a lot more about keeping it quiet from the neighbors. Either have it put on the rooftop and build some screening like they intend to do on the other side, or similar to what the highway department is doing for road noise, something completely opaque and force the sound to go up as opposed to out to the sides like it's doing now. It's a matter of having to have air obviously get to these things, so you'd have to be far enough away to do that, and I see this already requires a permit or a variance in order to put the tower up, much less something like that. But I think it's something that should be looked at, and like I said, it's not, you're right, during the day. And during the winter, when we have all our windows closed, it's not a big issue, but we do hear it, even with the windows closed. When it comes on, it's, even Bill in that knows that I've affectionately called it the rocket shed, because when it comes on and you hear it. So we would like you to do whatever you can to sit down with them and try to block as much noise from the neighborhood as possible and still allow them to upgrade and do what they need to do to get their equipment cool. For the most part, and overall, they've been very good neighbors, and I don't want to jeopardize that, but in the same respect, I'd like them to be sympathetic to our needs too.
Bill, do you notice it more? Obviously, the fan kicks on and off, but is it they run it more often at night?
I don't know. I'm sure it runs 24 hours a day, or however, when they're using the machines, obviously when the water is hot and it has to go out and be cooled, it's making that cycle. So when it comes on, I don't think you can say, well, it comes on more from 9 to 11 or whatever, but as it's needed, I'm sure it comes on, and we hear it quite often, especially in the yard and that when we're out in the evening and stuff.
So it's actually the fan whirl that's the noise?
Yeah, it's just the hum of the fan and the noise of the fan. So, and they're right. You probably don't hear it much if you're standing on the corner and there's traffic going by. But after 8 o'clock or 8:30, when the traffic is gone, it just comes out through the neighborhood, and that's all we hear. So,
No.
Those are my thoughts.
Any questions of Mr.
Well, I think-
Maple?
No, I think it's a valid point that, I guess I'll have to ask, what considerations have you looked at for noise abatement other than what we've talked about? Anything?
I'm Mick Hurd of the plant manager across the street here. We had looked at maybe moving it to a different location, but the expense of replumbing everything was so great that we thought we'd try to put it next to the one that's there. To replumb 12-inch line is very expensive. So
Is it possible for you to find out, or at least let us know what the decimal rating is?
yeah, we don't have a decibel meter. Craig is going to purchase one. We'll certainly, go out there 8 o'clock at night and check the decibel level.
Yeah,
and-
it's probably, the decibel level is one thing. It's just, it's happening. It's there, and it's an annoying noise.
Well, it would be nice to know what it is, and then whatever screening you do, see if that alters it or if that helps change it too. If it brings that
Right.
sound down from at the corner. Now, Tom, is it just planting was part of the planning commission?
Yes, yeah, the planning commission did not discuss sound walls or anything in this location of the site, so the existing planting, the 11 trees or whatever would remain, would be the screening.
So both these two units come on at the same time, shut off at the same time?
Well, they will, yeah.
All right.
But the secondary one, the one that we're planning on putting in, will be more of an auxiliary. It'll only run primarily in the hottest days.
Sure.
We have enough cooling tower there on a typical day, especially in the winter. But when we get up around 85, 90 degrees, like today, we run out of water, and then we have to start dumping water from the city. And we're just running that through the plant and out to sewer. So the whole purpose was to keep a closed-loop system. So if I've got 50,000 gallons in the system, it maintains that 50,000 gallons, and I'm not having to add to it cold water and then flush out the hotter water into the sewers. So that was the purpose.
Yeah, I think everybody here has pretty much said we want, obviously, neighbors included
Sure.
to work with you. It's just the sound issue that I think we need to spend a little more time on, and I don't know exactly where would we refer this back to? Planning?
Well, I think Tom can work with the applicants.
Yeah, does the township have access to a decibel meter that they could help us out with?
Yeah, we contact the MPCA for those. We have not done that for maybe 15 or 20 years, so I don't know what the program is today.
It may be
but
cheaper to buy our own then.
I don't know about that. I think they're very sophisticated. instruments,
And that's
even
something
20
else
years
we had talked about, the planning commission, about the sound wall also, so you're probably gonna have to have it looked at a couple different times anyway, whether it's around back with the trucks or out front with the towers, so.
Yeah,
Right.
I just table this and have it sent back for a little more work on the sound.
But I think you're probably under pressure to get this going because of the warm winter. It'd be in 2 weeks.
18th.
That's something you can work with? Well, we can have you and staff get together and see what we can come up with?
Yep,
But
they've,
we appreciate you guys willing to work with it for another couple, because I know it's crunch time now with the weather, but. All right, well, hearing that, Steve?
So,
Don?
Comment, if this is recommended to go back to the planning commission, they meet on the 28th, so that would put us in a town board meeting in August.
August 6th.
Well, do you really want to send it back to the planning commission, or
Well,
simply,
why do we,
you can simply table it?
or you don't think staff can handle this through,
I think so, sure.
Yeah.
I just had heard reference back to the planning commission, so I just wanted to give you the time frame.
well, I think going back, planning commission's only dealing more with that sound wall than it is the tower. They'll approve this with.
With,
in the
that,
next meeting,
and
so.
the planning commission has already recommended approval.
Right.
Based on, so this will be a refinement from what the planning commission's already done.
Well, let staff work.
Yes,
Okay, so we'll make a motion to refer this back to staff to fine tune the,
and come back
come back
on,
on July
on the 18th.
18?
So you want to adopt a motion tabling this until the 18th?
yes.
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you. Thanks, Bill. All right, item number 7B, Township Days, approval of the billboard expenditures.
Yeah, part of the Township Day coming up on September 10th this year. The town has a contract with Clear Channel, who has the billboards out in the park, and we get free use of one billboard for a period of 4 weeks. We have to pay for the cost to print the vinyl to put up on the billboard, and it's $1,000.
But it's on our billboard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the northerly billboard, southbound lane. So facing southbound traffic,
Okay.
or sitting traffic. Good time to put up a billboard, everyone's
Say they
gonna
have a lot
see
of
it.
time to sit there right now.
$1,000 expenditure. This is typically an annual expenditure, as we do this every year, so just wanna have the town board authorize the approval of that expenditure, as you have done in the past.
Did we do this last year?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
did. And on Township Day itself, we've had good feedback from people that have seen it, so we know it gets a lot of visibility. So it's a very worthwhile.
Different design this year. It's been a little busy in the past, so we've made it much more readable with this year.
It's kind of an eye catcher, actually.
I suppose particularly since the Highway 96 ramps have been,
Yeah, so there's a lot
Just-
more traffic coming.
Yes.
All right, so this is a park board issue.
Yeah, so
Gordo?
I'd make a motion based on the park board and staff review and recommendation, authorize $1,000 billboard expenditure to allow Clear Channel to print billboard vinyl with funding from the Township Day Fund.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion also carries. Now moving on, item number 7C, improvement 2016-1, Pine Hills change order number 1. Must be you, Jim?
Yep. Acting Chair, members of the board, the Pine Hill project was awarded to C.W. Hool at the previous meeting. That was for $792,751. At that time, the developer knew that they were short of material in the street area, and we had a line item in which the developer would be providing the material, and our contractor, C.W. Hool, would be placing that material on the site. Since that time, we've had discussions with both the developer and the contractor, and we have come up with the C.W. Hool able to provide that material along with placing that material on the site. So this is a much more cleaner process, a lot less interaction with multiple contractors. So basically, we are taking the original street bid item number 6, that was place select granular subbase, the 10 inches, reducing that from the $15,048 to 0, and adding in a new bid item for the select granular material subbase against the 10 inches. That would be for 4,560 tons of that material at $11.50. This will then add $52,440 to the project. The combination of the reduction of the first item and the addition of the second one would be an overall contract increase of $37,392. That is laid out in change order number 1 before you. This has been run through the developer and the contractor, and everybody is in an agreement with this activity. So we would recommend approval of this. I will just let you know that we are currently working on some sanitary sewer adjustments. That activity is going on right now, and we will probably be back with another change order here shortly. But at tonight's meeting, everybody is in agreement with this one. Change order number 1, and this will bring the total project contract with C.W. Hool to $830,143.
I drove by there, or I drove in there yesterday. It looks like they've already got most of the fill back in there already, because the road elevation came way up.
I think what you are noticing is the boulevard's going down.
Oh.
We are, the sanitary sewer, the water main is going in, services are going in, so the dirt activity has been moved around. So we have not added any material. We're still in excavation mode, and we'll be doing that until we've got everything installed under the ground.
Are they still on track? I mean, they've got here September 2nd for utilities and first layer of lift, and is that still feasible?
We are greatly ahead of the proposed schedule. C.W. Hool, with their eagerness to get their crews to work, have had 2 and 3 crews a day working on this project. So we are significantly ahead of schedule on a September 2nd, barring some unforeseen complications, should easily be met.
Steve, you got anything?
No, I spelled it out.
I have to admit, that's probably one of the fastest projects I've seen go up. These guys aren't messing around.
I was gonna say, every day it changes substantially.
It does. And I did want to throw in at the end that all this still, we're greatly under the original budget for this project, even with this additional costs, and that the funds for this project are already encumbered from the developer, so everything is covered.
Excellent.
Okay, Steve, you want to?
Sure. Based on the town engineer's review and recommendation, approve change order number 1 in the project to increase the amount by $37,392, bringing the total construction cost at this point to $830,143.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Can I just make a little plug regarding this Pine Hill project? The activity for this Friday and Saturday, we will have a road closure of County Road H2 that it will be just east of Peterson Road. We will be doing a water main crossing at that location. So access for the area, Providence east of the site will have to come from the east, and the access with Peterson Road on the west will have to come from the west. So there will be access throughout. It'll just be right east of, between those two roadways is where the construction activity will take place those 2 days, and you will not be able to travel east-west across that area.
Jim, are they piercing it, or are they actually tearing the road up?
We are doing a excavation,
Okay.
correct.
It's just water, not sewer?
The sewer already exists for the residents on the north side, and this project itself, the Pine Hill development, is coming from the south, the large 21-inch sanitary sewer.
Along Centerville?
That runs along the east side of Centerville, and then just past the residents south of this,
Okay.
heads easterly and then southerly down to the Met Council line by the railroad tracks.
Okay.
Plan your route differently.
Yeah, well, you can't get anywhere now, so it's like. All right, moving on. Item 8A, the Benson Airport Water Tower. They're looking for an amateur radio operator antenna request.
Yep, the town received via email a letter today from Eric Osterberg, who represents amateur radio operators who are interested in requesting that the town board consider authorizing placement of an antenna on the top of the Benson Airport Tower. In his letter, he goes on to explain the services that amateur radio operators provide through the National Weather Service, trained spotters, and a network of radios, and so on. This request, we're not in any position to recommend any action on it today, other than to refer the request to the town engineer and public works director, and pending their comments, it would also be, if it seems feasible mechanically, we'd still have to, I'd be interested in input from Ramsey County Emergency Communications. In fact, I'd contact them right away just to give their recommendation on this. Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, and then the current lessees on that tower. I think we've got 2. So the action tonight would be to receive it and refer.
Bill, would we have, would we charge a fee for it, put it that way? Because obviously we're getting fees for cell towers.
That would be up to the board to determine. At this point, I think that the amateurs are hoping that there would be no fee.
So then it would just be an issue of whether there's room or if it interferes with anything else.
Yes.
So we'll just refer it to staff and a
Yep.
review?
Authorize the town engineer and staff to review it.
Okay.
Might I be heard very briefly on that point?
I said, pardon me?
May I be heard very briefly on 8A?
Yeah, you want to identify yourself?
Well, Christopher Sandberg, I'm an attorney with Lockridge, Rendell, now in Minneapolis. Mr. Osterberg has no clue that I'm here tonight. Mr. Osterberg is not my client. However, one of my pro bono clients is the Minnesota Youth Amateur Radio Council. MinYARC provides training and youth development within the amateur radio umbrella. I'm their attorney because of my connection for way too many years with Boy Scouting and with things technological. Mr. Osterberg has set out a really nice explanation of what hams do, but he left out one important thing, which is through vehicles like MinYARC, there is outreach to the next generation. And MinYARC, through its training, has on numerous activities, larger scouting activities that I've been involved in, provided radio support for health and safety to make the event run in a safe way. While he's given me no permission to do this, I support, as a ham, I support the request that's been made to you, and particularly the fact that you shouldn't charge them for it. But I just stayed because of my involvement with MinYARC, that it's a really good thing that hams do, including bringing youngsters into the fold. So I just wanted to add that to the record.
Chris, do you happen to know, are there any other towers on top of water towers around this area?
You know, fighting
Antennas.
for space on tall things is a continuous issue. And Mr. Osterberg makes the case, I think, very well that having a good overlaid grid is what makes that public safety piece of, whether it's weather warning or emergency communications, that's what makes amateur radio go. I know I have put radio stuff on the NSP smokestack in downtown St. Paul. I put radio towers on a lot of greater Minnesota municipal buildings. I haven't personally done one for a metro municipally owned building that quickly comes to mind, but it's not the least bit unusual because you often have a nicely centrally located building that's got a roof more than a couple stories tall. So you're kind of popular, you being townships and cities generally, you're pretty popular for radio placement. But no, I've not done one like this.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
There were a couple of examples given in his letter that I had a chance to review. The Hennepin County Sheriff's site in Medina, Buck Hill Ski Resort, the City of Faribault's 250-foot tower, a tower in Rochester, and another at the University of Minnesota East Campus.
Well, the only thing I would be worried about is if it does, I don't, reading through here what exact space it takes, if that would eliminate us putting another cell tower or something on it.
That would be a consideration.
Well, I understand, especially public safety, this is a good thing, because this is an excellent backup for when stuff goes down, but I also don't want to restraint ourselves for that space. Thanks, Steve?
No, I think I'd rather do exactly what we said. We're going to receive the request, Eric Osterberg's request for antenna and radio transmitting equipment, and refer it to Public Works Director and Town Engineer, and wait for their report.
So I believe that's a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, last item B, ordinance number 88. This is a liquor license moratorium.
It's been determined since the town board amended our liquor ordinance on May 2nd that there was some confusion or unintended translation of that language that needs clarification, particularly as it relates to the definition of a restaurant for which type of license. Therefore, staff is recommending that the board consider a moratorium so that that language can be clarified. Included in your packet was a draft that Patty, our paralegal, prepared. Chad has had a chance to review it and had a couple of suggestions, and he gave me a copy.
Yeah, we got it.
Good, thank you. And it would be ordinance number 88 instead of 87.
I was going to ask that question. I saw that.
I thought it was because of moratorium, the number changed.
No, but Chad might be able to point out to you how, well, actually, you haven't seen either of these before. So, would you be comfortable summarizing?
Sure,
for the
not a
budget?
problem. Purpose of this ordinance would be to place a 6-month moratorium on issuance of any liquor licenses, any additional on-sale liquor licenses. It gives the staff time to consider any changes are necessary to coordinate and correlate the existing ordinance with, well, what the board intends the ordinance to do. And as you remember, the real question was, we had the issue of wine sales, and under the license that would be issued for wine sales, wine and beer only, would actually cover a full bar, and that's, I think, what the board really wanted to address. So that's probably the biggest reason to do this. Now, one thing I'd point out too is that, first of all, while it's a 6-month moratorium, as soon as the new ordinance is adopted, you can repeal the ordinance, repeal the moratorium. So it won't be there for 6 months. Plus, we have 2 exceptions. One is for all existing on-sale liquor licenses, as they come for renewal. If they come for renewal within the 6-month moratorium, they can be considered. So the moratorium won't affect them. Also, the board does, well, for example, for Township days, you can still allow for temporary licenses to be issued. So those are the 2 exceptions. So, again, the result of this ordinance, adoption of this ordinance, will simply give the staff time to review your existing liquor ordinances for on-sale licenses, and just coordinate things and make sure we don't have any, I hate to use the term loophole, but, a gap.
Yeah. So this is really for new applications.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in fact, one point I'd make is that in section 3-1, the last sentence indicates that the town will not accept any additional on-sale liquor license applications, and the town board will not consider or grant approval of any application for such a license. In other words, any new on-sale licenses are stopped. Naturally, anyone who's made an application that's been accepted, that has to be considered.
Okay.
But it'll basically cover anyone that applies from
Here
after
forward.
adoption of the ordinance.
All right, and then between staff and the board, we'll be working on this, and I'm sure we can do it in less than 6 months.
Let's sure hope.
All right, anything else?
We
Steve?
need to make a motion on that then?
Yeah, we need a motion to,
I will do that if you want. You want me to-
this isn't dated, is this just something we can refer to as supplied tonight? Is it-
Yes.
Okay.
It would be, there was a date on the, passed by the town board on this 6th day of July, 2016 on the back page.
Okay. So we'd be referring to
We should correct that, it says 5th.
accepting this ordinance dated July 6th.
Lost track of time.
Yep. Can we make a motion?
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adopt an ordinance number 88, establishing a 6-month moratorium within the town of the issuance of liquor license in the town of White Bear pursuant to Minnesota statute 462.355, as passed July 6, 2016.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion also carries. That concludes our regular agenda items. Number 8 is number 9 is open time. I see no one for that, so number 10, receipt of agenda materials and supplements. Any motion for that?
So moved?
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved?
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:44.